I've heard from many people who have told me that they thought they didn't like broccoli and then they made this and they became broccoli people. It's this sort of like tangy, tart, crunchy. It's a really well balanced salad. Hi, I'm Deb, and welcome back to the Smitten Kitchen. If you ever told me that one of the most popular recipes on my website would be for broccoli, I would not have believed you. But this broccoli slaw is that good. It's a sort of ranchy dressing, and if you meet anyone who says they don't like ranch dressing, even if they think they don't like ranch, they're gonna like this one. It gets some crunch from almonds, there's a little bit more tartness from these dried cranberries. It's inhalable. We are gonna use 2 heads of broccoli, large, small, it's very flexible. Some buttermilk, a little bit of mayo. If you don't like mayo, you can use some plain yogurt or sour cream instead. Got some dried cranberries, some red onion, which is gonna go both in the dressing and the salad, sugar, sliced almonds, and I've toasted them, salt, apple cider vinegar, a good amount of black pepper. When I use broccoli, I like to use all of it. I know some people like to toss the stems, but I think that's really sad because the stems are really delicious. And I start by peeling them. I just take the outer layer off. And I find that by taking this off, you end up with this really nice, tender piece of broccoli inside. And of course, you can take off all those little knobs. What the official term? I also do this when I roast broccoli, and I also do it when I steam it. But I never, ever throw broccoli stems away. In fact, my kids have strong opinions. One of them only likes the top half of the broccoli, and the other one only likes the bottom half of the broccoli. So to be honest, it actually works out pretty well at dinner time. I usually just slice it very thin, kind of going for flat pieces. I actually love it because when you cut it that way, you get these like splats. You get these like sort of flower shapes. Makes me happy. I'm gonna go about until we can't anymore because it's too hard to hold it together. And then I'll start working with individual stalks. I'm going to give these a rough chop, even though I like the pretty flower shapes. I just don't want it to be too much bigger than bite size. Get these guys in the bowl. And then from here, where we have pieces like this, we can go in a couple directions. I might do some like this, where I just continue to slice it down like I did the first ones. And just try to cut it really thin. When I can't go any further, voila, the broccoli falls itself into perfect bite-sized pieces. I think it's cute. It looks like a person, doesn't it? I see the Michelin Man. Things are going great. And if you want, you can kind of just cut it down like this. And this is nice because you get kind of, I feel like, very slaw-like pieces that lay flat in the salad. And then you get pieces like this that are like little happy trees, having like a Bob Ross moment here. But the main thing is I want to think about people being able to get it on their forks. So, you know, flatter pieces are going to make it a lot easier. And this is it. This is the hardest work we're going to do all day with this. This is as difficult as a recipe is going to get in the Smitten Kitchen. I'm a big fan of what I call one hurdle recipes. Like there should only be one thing that either takes a leap of faith or a bit of extra work per recipe. Almost there. A big bowl of broccoli is emerging. So I'm showing you both ways to cut broccoli, and it's really up to you, or you can do what I'm doing and do a mix. And we're at the end, which is, by the way, right around the point where I go, wait, why did I sign up to chop all this broccoli? I would serve this with something else. I think of this as like a summer side, like, you know, coleslaw. But within my own apartment, I will definitely eat this for lunch. Where you've eaten a giant bowl of broccoli. How virtuous are you? Is that a lot? I mean, like, you're a little skeptical, I understand. I'm gonna throw in half a cup of toasted almonds. And if you do not already have toasted almonds, I really want you to toast them first. I don't know if that counts as a second hurdle, but you just put them on a baking sheet, 350, probably about 5 minutes. Keep an eye on it because they can get dark fast. I just think it goes from tasting like not much at all to tasting delicious and crisp and deeply flavored. And then we're gonna take a little bit of dried cranberries and mince them up. I like to make them smaller because I want them to disperse a lot, just like little flecks throughout the salad. If you're not into dried cranberries, you can another dried fruit. If you don't want any dried fruit in your salad, you can skip it. But I think it adds a really surprising texture and sweetness and tartness here. And I know lots of people who think they don't like dried fruit in salad that really like it here. What if you don't like broccoli? Then you haven't had the salad yet. I'm gonna mince a little bit of raw onion to put in here, and I'm gonna try not to cry, but chopping onions always makes me cry. All right, here we go. Okay. This is a very fresh onion. Lots of flavor. And now we're gonna make the dressing. I feel like your cameras are still rolling. All right, for the dressing, like to mince it a little more finely. If you want to take down the bite of onion a little bit, you can add it directly to the vinegar and let it soak together for a few minutes, and it gets a little bit pickled and sweet, and it's really nice. This is half a cup of buttermilk. Goes right in there. So we're gonna add a little bit of mayo. Maybe I picked the wrong size bowl. We'll find out. A little bit of sugar, not a lot. I'm gonna add some salt. This I'm just gonna eyeball because we can adjust it to taste. Probably about like a little under a teaspoon. Apple cider vinegar, which I always feel like tastes very summery in salads. It's a very classic summer slaw flavor. We're going to add a good amount of pepper. I think this dressing would also be delicious on like a flip-flop. Parsley and chives, I feel like makes it more classically ranch flavored. If you want it thicker, you can add a higher proportion of mayo. If you want it thinner, you can add more buttermilk and less mayo. You can really play around with it. Just for balance, a little bit of seasoning directly on the salad. I don't know if that's in the recipe, but it's not a bad idea to season all your layers. All right. So I don't always use all of the dressing. I usually start by adding about half and then just seeing if it's well dressed. I don't want it too wet or creamy. That's just my own preference. Here we go. I'd much rather underdress a salad and then have to add more than overdress it and end up something kind of like heavy and squicky and vegetable occluding. I want to taste my vegetables. That said, we're gonna need the rest of the dressing here. In we go. It's a very thin dressing. It doesn't feel like a bowl of mayo with a few flecks of vegetables in it. It feels like a vegetable salad with a thin, lightly creamy dressing on it, which for me is the perfect balance. I think I just made a bucket of broccoli slaw, like a bucket. Here we go. You know, there are people who don't like ranch dressing. I get it, because it's not always amazing from the bottle, but when you make it homemade with a little bit of mayo and some buttermilk, it's a totally different thing. It has a really fresh taste. Should we try it? I'm gonna try it. I'm going in, I'm gonna try it. I know I'm biased, but it is so good. I feel like the professionals know to take smaller bites, so they're not chewing for like a full minute afterwards. I'm gonna do it right on the next time. One of the most frequent emails and comments I get about this is that people will tell me that they made it and they were gonna bring it somewhere, and they actually stood in the kitchen and ate the entire bowl themselves, and it never left the apartment. And that is my favorite. So let us know if you make it. I hope you love it, and we'll see you back here next week. Can I show you more broccoli shapes? Because I think they're like super cute. What does your broccoli Rorschach say about you? I don't know. I feel like this is like a really perfect spring flower right here. And this is Splat. This definitely looks like a deep sea creature. It's gonna be great. My parents are gonna be so proud of me.